Hey, what's up guys? As you can see behind me I have this big box. This is my new road bike. It's a GMC $99 Walmart bike, and I'm going to take it out of the box and assemble it, and let's see how it is. So this is a GMC bike, licensed for General Motors, but I guess made by Kent in Los Angeles, but distributed by Kent International in New Jersey, but of course made in China. And finally, sold in Walmart. First of all, the box looks pretty good. I had this shipped directly to my house. It was not available to pick up in the store. I had to ship it to my house. It tells me to wear my helmet, which I will not always do. And for some reason it says don't ride at night. Maybe it doesn't work at night. Okay guys, here's a point that I think some of the Walmart reviewers missed. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the details more closely. First of all, you get an aluminum frame with welds that actually look pretty nice. And by the way, the frame is not just a standard circular tube. It's definitely got some unique shapes to it, such as this one here. I have no idea why it's like that. The down tube is some kind of shape. It's not round, and in fact the top is pretty pointed. One thing while we're over by the seat stay is you'll notice that it does not have mounting holes or anything for a second water bottle, unfortunately, so you only get one water bottle. And I think that's really unfortunate for this bike especially, because it's not a lightweight bike, it's not a performance racing bike, but it could be a good touring bike or something you want to go further distances on, so it would be actually really nice if it had a second water bottle mounting option. It does have a plate on the bottom for a kickstand, whether you like that or don't. I actually will be taking the kickstand off later. For the bottom bracket, it is some sort of loose ball bearing system. Definitely that's not as good, but I imagine you can probably upgrade it at a later point if you would like. So personally, I like this frame. I think it looks pretty nice. It has some interesting shapes. The welds look good, and I think that you should be able to upgrade this frame, or upgrade the components to fit this frame later on, and you have an aluminum frame already, so I give the frame a pretty decent thumbs up, with maybe the exception that it's missing some mounts for additional water bottle. Moving on to the fork. Again, it's an aluminum fork. Now this time I do spot a slightly messier weld, but that's just aesthetics. I'm quite positive it's plenty strong. And once again, it's not just a circular tube like you might expect to see on such a low-priced bike, but it's a kind of a bladed fork. The front radius is larger, then it tapers down to a smaller back radius. Overall, the fork looks yeah, good enough, pretty nice. Might look better if it had a different color, like maybe black. The paint itself, going back to the frame a little bit, it's good, but I see some strange effects, and I don't know if that's some kind of the packing material or what it is, but there seems to be some parts that are a bit more glossy than others. Yeah, you see that there? Right there. It's like some blotchiness, or maybe a coating of some sort. This is a quill stem, and quite an odd looking one. First of all, I have no idea why it looks like that. I assume that's an aluminum casting, but it definitely looks unusual. But it's still just a typical quill stem. But also what's unusual is it appears that the stem diameter is too large for the handlebars, so they actually put this kind of plastic, I believe it's plastic, cuff over it as an adapter so that it fits the handlebars. It's kind of strange. Hopefully this diameter is, 31 millimeters, and then I can fit, standard accessories on it. Moving on to the handlebars, I think you're looking at about 18¼ inches. And my guess is they're using the same handlebars no matter what size frame you get. And this is the small frame, by the way. They call it 19 inches. My guess is they're using the same handlebars for any frame, just out of cheapness. And to me, these are a little bit larger than what I normally like to ride. But that said, I did take it for a spin around the block earlier, and it feels really comfortable. One interesting thing I noticed about it, though, is, now maybe I'm wrong, but I believe these handlebars are wrapped incorrectly. Normally, I believe what you would like to have is the wrapping going the other direction, so that when you push down, it's not going against, it's not trying to lift up on these. Next thing we can take a look at is the shifters. As you can see, they're not your typical road shifters. We have some twist shifters that you might see on a cheap mountain bike. It's called Revo Shift Easy Gear Changing, Shimano brand. Obviously this was done just to save money on manufacturing. Maybe also for beginners, they would think that they would prefer this type of shifting. I'm not really sure what the idea was. That's obviously not as good, but whatever. What do you expect for 99 bucks? Interestingly, this front one is a friction shift, which means it doesn't even have set 1, 2, 3 positions. You just have to turn it until it's in the right place. Very, very old school. Whereas the right one over here does have the click shift positions. Brakes, you do have typical levers. The logo or whatever is scratched off. I didn't notice that before. The other one is here. It's called Radius. One thing that stands out to me with these brakes, first of all, the positioning was fine. Like, I actually liked the positioning right away. But I believe the pull is shorter than it should be, or harder to pull than other bikes I've rode. So something's a little bit non-standard with that, I feel. Feels quite hard to pull. Moving on to the saddle and seat post. Pretty standard setup here. And like I said, I did go around the block with this bike already once, and the seat actually felt extremely comfortable, very soft. Like I'm riding some kind of cruiser rather than a road bike. So let's take a look at the brakes now. Of course, they are not going to be anything fancy. They are a single pivot rim brake. Of course, no branding at all, but otherwise pretty typical. There is some adjustment which you can make, and right up here. And it's the same story with the front brake too, by the way, nothing different. So let's take a look at the wheels. They are aluminum wheels with some stickers that say these wheels are attached to no branded hubs, which are loose ball bearing, not sealed. And by the way, they are not the truest wheel. Yeah, that's pretty bad. They're definitely not a slick tire. They do have some gripping profile, which again is absolutely fine for this application. These are 32 millimeters. I think it's pretty nice for this type of bike. I don't have a problem with that. Brand, who knows, who cares. For the pedals, we have some awful plastic in the middle. very thin gauge aluminum on the outside. The cranks actually match the stickers on the wheels, which again is this Vit Essis. I don't know how to say it. Vit. The length is printed as 170. Obviously these are made out of steel, nice and heavy, which also matches the chainring. So we have your typical steel, steel, steel chainring. And moving on to the front derailleur, it is Shimano branded. At least it looks like most of it is made out of metal. And let's move on back to the freewheel. It's a 7-speed. Going down to the rear derailleur, it looks again to be Shimano branded. I do see some plastic here, although I thought that might be a cover, but I think that's actually a plastic body. There's your hanger. Looks like some stamped steel for the hanger going into a plastic body, going into a sheet metal extender unit. I don't know if that's the right term. Okay, so that's an overview of all the components. Just one thing to note, so there's no confusion. The saddlebag I purchased and added on separately, as well as the pump and the mount for the pump. Water bottle cage was included, water bottle was not included, but everything else on the bike is exactly as it came, clear down to the pedals and the cheesy kickstand. Next thing I'm going to do right now is go ahead and set this up a little bit more the way I want it by removing most of these frame stickers. Oh, and by the way, about the frame stickers, they aren't even that good. Not only are they ugly, but some of them aren't applied too well. As you can see here, that's just an example of how a lot of these stickers look.